Hi, my name is Mikael Peterson. I'm a student here at JTech. I'm here to teach you about the air brake system and how it works. So first we can divide the system up into four parts: the supply system, the primary system, the secondary system, and the parking. We're going to first talk about the supply. So the supply consists of the governor, the air compressor, the air dryer, and the supply tank. Now come over here. So we have our air compressor. Our air compressor converts atmospheric air to pressurized air. It's the heart of the system, so this is where our air supply comes from. It also is connected to the air dryer through that silver discharge line right there, and it's connected to the governor. Now the governor right here, it tells the air compressor when to cut on and cut off. It's also connected to the wet tank and the air dryer. So from the wet tank, when it's a lot of pressurized air, like at 130, it will cut out, which will tell the air compressor stop making air. And when it's too less of air, around 80, it would tell it to come back on to create more air. And then when this air is being cut out, it would go to the air dryer where it would purge. All right, so our air dryer is right here. Our air dryer takes the contaminants out of the air, like water vapor and oil, all that, and it purges it out from this purge valve right here. This also sends that air to the wet tank, where it will be stored. So this is our wet tank. Our wet tank gets that air from the air dryer, and it will be stored here. It's also called a supply tank too, and basically that is how your supply system is, and we're going to move on to the primary system next. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the primary system. Now the primary system controls our rear brakes, and it's supplied from the primary tank. Now first, we have our treadle valve and our brake pedal. With the treadle valve, primary air from the tank is supplied to this treadle valve, and when I push this pedal, it's sent through a delivery port to the service brake relay. Now the service brake relay distributes air to each of these chambers, and it does it. And when it does it, it helps it apply and release them evenly and more efficient. And also, this service brake relay gets its own air too from the primary tank, just to have it. Now when we press it, you'll see as it distributes evenly. Applies and releases evenly. Alright, so next we're going to be talking about our secondary system. Now our secondary system focuses on our front brakes. It's also coming from our secondary supply tank. So now what happens is, also it's coming from this treadle valve. The treadle valve supplied from the secondary tank. Now when we press down on the pedal, that air from the supply secondary tank goes to this quick release valve. Now this quick release valve distributes air to these brake chambers, and when it's done releasing, it releases out here. So that's why this helps apply and release the brakes quick, just like the relay valve on the back. And demonstrate. So now we're going to be talking about our parking brake system. Now, my parking brake system, basically, that's just talking about our parking brakes in the back. We're just going to call it spring brakes. Now we have this parking brake valve, which is also called a PP1 valve. Now when it's applied, which we pull it, air is sent to this spring brake relay valve and distributed out to these spring brakes, where it applies this spring in the back here, and this slightly just push rod stick out. Now the brakes are applied. Now when you release, air is going to be coming out that spring brake relay valve exhaust, and they go in just like that. Now the relay is just like the service brake relay, it just helps apply and release it quicker. Also part of this parking brake system is our spring brake valve. Now this spring brake valve is only used when the primary tank has no air in it, and all we have is secondary tank air. So what the spring brake valve does is uses secondary tanks air to use your spring brakes as like service brakes when your primary tank goes out and you have no service brakes. So what happens is air is sent from here to here and is pushed into the chamber where it can use them because you have no air for service. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about how the spring brake valve works. So what happens is when you have pressure below, which is around 6 psi, you'll get this warning to tell you that you have too low of air pressure. So when that happens, all you have to rely on is the secondary tank. Now you can do a couple applications, and then basically your spring brakes are applied too. And what happens is you're using them as service brakes, using the spring brakes as service brakes, and you go about like a couple applications, and then they'll eventually lock up. See that good below? As it's sticking out, that means our spring brake is basically applied. We have basically no more in our secondary tank. So this relay basically has an anti-compound feature with it, which is this signal line will tell us that the spring brake is applied, but also we press this at the same time. That would be double braking, but just because of this anti-compound, what it does is it sends air to each of these, so it'll allow some release on this, and you can use your service brakes at the same time, so it won't be double braking. We're going to see how this anti-compound works on the relay. So what happens is, right now we have our parking brake applied, and this signal line is going to sense that. So when I press this down, what happens is it's going to release some air from here while putting air in here to balance it out, so we won't be double braking. As you see, it goes out some. It's allowing us to use our brakes. There we go. That concludes on how the air brake system works. Thank you. Have a great day.